Okay, guys. I saw Hellboy. Um, you know what? I'm gonna put this mic down because I'm tired of holding it. It gets quite annoying. Can you guys still hear me? Good. So we shall continue. I saw Hellboy, right? Before I get into the actual review, I just want to state that I don't know anything about Hellboy. This seems to be a common occurrence with me, going into movies that I know nothing about. Yet again, it has happened with Hellboy, like it has happened with Alita, for example. So I don't know anything about Hellboy. I haven't read any of the comics at all. I don't even know the company that that writes Hellboy or publishes Hellboy. I don't even know the name of the company. And I've never seen the movies with Ron Perlman, who played the original cinematic incarnation of Hellboy. I haven't even seen those, but I was still excited to see this movie just because of how fucking awesome the trailers made it look, and also because this movie was R-rated. And I do know from doing a little bit of research that the first initial two Hellboy movies with Ron Perlman were not R-rated. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I need to recheck that, but I know that obviously that this one was definitely R-rated because the trailers really, hit that home and made sure that people knew that going in, and I kind of liked that. I kind of the fact that it was more R-rated and more, well, what's the word I'm looking for? It was more bloody, more gory, more a lot of swearing, and a lot of hellish looking visuals and action, and that's what got me excited for the movie. All right, the trailers did a good job with that. Right, that's what I was going into this movie to see. Okay, the also the comedy as well was another thing, which was loosely seen in the trailers. So I was mostly going in for it because of the hellish, like the hellish and evil looking visuals and action. As a fan of horror, I like to see that. Okay, maybe I'm a little twisted for wanting to see that, but who the fuck cares? I don't care. So with that stuff, it did a good job with that. The hellish looking visuals and shit like that. I don't know. It all looked good, and the action was good for the most part. And so that's one of my positives. I have a list of positives written down. So the hellish visuals, violence, as I said, good. I liked it. It was what I was going to see, and they did an alright job with it. Also the comedy worked a lot better than I thought it would. Actually, the comedy was, when I was walking away, was the one thing that I don't know, I had a good reaction to. I liked the comedy in this movie. It was a bit vulgar, which is I like, very funny. So the comedy, the hellish visuals and violence was all done pretty well in my opinion. And David Harbour, his performance for Hellboy. Again, I don't know anything about Hellboy, so I can't compare him to Ron Perlman, or I can't compare this Hellboy to the source material, again, because I don't know, okay? But from what I saw, I liked what I was getting from David Harbour's performance as Hellboy. I love him in Stranger Things, so I'm already invested in the actor, I suppose, but I like him, okay? So those are all my positives with the movie. That being said, those positives kind of pale in comparison to the overwhelming amount of negatives that I had with this movie. I really just want to quickly wrap this up and say it. It's not a good movie. And I feel like it's not a good movie because as I was watching it, I started to realize that they were trying to cram so much into the one movie that's why I didn't like it. And by the end of the movie, I was walking away kind of thinking like, what the hell did I just watch? They crammed so much, so many characters and so many plot points that you actually have to, like, that are just thrown at you and that you have to either try and remember or try and keep up with. And I just wasn't, I don't know. I just couldn't keep up with it because I was just throwing so much shit at my face that I don't know why they were doing that. This movie kind of felt like the third one in a trilogy or the last one in a huge cinematic universe. You know what I'm saying? For me, it kind of felt like the last movie, right? And it shouldn't have felt like that because they were cramming so much into it. It felt like that there were like 2 movies before this one or 20 movies before this one, and they were just trying to fill it with all these characters and plot points that I would have understood if they had built it up, but they don't. They didn't. This is a reboot, but it didn't feel like that. And if seen as this is meant to be a reboot, they should have. This movie is not contained. It should have been more contained. They should have kept it kind of streamlined. I'm not saying play it safe. I'm not doing that. I'm not saying that. Okay, take risks, but don't fill your movie with so much shit that someone who's watching it for the first time won't understand it. I mean, and I'll say this. There were two guys sitting next to me who were Hellboy fans because I was hearing their conversations, and they were talking about Hellboy, Ron Perlman, and these were guys who have read the comics. After the movie had ended, even they said that they needed to go back and watch, they were going to go home and watch the original Hellboy movies to feel better. So when they said that, I was like, okay, I'm justified in not liking this movie, because if two guys, random guys who are Hellboy fans, read the comics, as I heard in their conversations and have watched the original movies, if they don't like it, then I feel better in saying, you know what, this is not a great adaptation of Hellboy, simply because if it's a reboot, they should take it easy, take it slow, take risks. I'm not saying don't take risks. I mean, the R-rated vibe of this movie is a risk, okay? All the swearing and the vulgarness and the bloodiness and the hell-like stuff, like, yeah, take risks like that, but don't fill it with so much shit that it feels like the third one in a trilogy or the 20th film in a cinematic universe, you know what I mean? And I don't know. And also, because they cram this movie with so much shit, the pacing in this movie is kind of off. Like, it's just off. Like, things occur so quickly and so rapid that I never get a chance, like, I as a viewer never got that chance to go, like, to just sit and mellow in this, I don't know if that's the right word, but to sit in what I was watching. It was kind of like, this has happened, that's kind of character development, but now let's move on to the next thing. Let's forget about that. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's show them this plot line, show them this character, and then let's just keep moving it on, like, keep moving it on. And like, but what I'm talking about with that is the emotional, I guess you could say, undercurrent of this movie, which is Hellboy and his human father. That was, it didn't, like, I could see what they were trying to do with that. Like, they were trying to make that the emotional pull to the movie, but by the end of the movie, when something happens, I didn't give a shit at all. I didn't care, right? And I should have cared, but I just didn't, because the movie is crammed with so much shit, right? And so much of it is thrown in your face that it just feels like they're just going from plot point to plot point, character to character, not really taking time to focus on Hellboy, right? And I feel like this is an important thing, because the movie's about him, right? They should take the time to, and seeing as this is a reboot, they're like sort of retelling Hellboy, they should take the time to focus on him and his relationship with his father. But as it stands, whenever it goes on to their relationship, it's just quickly blown over. Like, and then they move on to the next thing. It's really, yeah, this movie kind of bummed me out, because I was excited for it, but it did almost everything wrong, okay? The things I did like about it was, at the very least, David Harbour's performance of the character, even though the writing for Hellboy in this movie and the script is not that great. But I did like his performance, and I liked the comedy, and the hellish action and violence was awesome. So that's what I like about the movie, but unfortunately, this is one of the biggest disappointments of the year for me, because of how much I was looking forward to it. But one thing I will take away from it is that now I'm gonna go and watch Ron Perlman's Hellboy to see how that is. Probably gonna be better. I'm betting it's gonna be better. Anyway, I'll see you in whatever video is coming out next. I'm pretty sure it's my Walking Dead Season 9 review, but yeah. See you in the next video.